Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Taylor, and on this channel we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church and do some commentary on the goings-on in evangelical Christianity. So today we are going to be talking about town halls, and I'm sure that I don't really need to explain to you guys what we're going to be talking about today, because I'm sure that you've seen that there's footage from town halls going viral, like literally all over the internet right now. But in case you aren't aware of that, let me clue you into a little bit of what's going on. So last week, Congress was actually in recess, and it's really common when Congress goes to recess for representatives to hold town halls. And people have been showing up to these town halls, and they've been letting their representative know exactly what they think about what's happening in the US right now. And it is causing chaos. It is causing absolute chaos. And we love it. We are so here for the chaos. I do think it's important that we establish exactly what a town hall is. I actually wasn't really that educated on town halls until I started researching for this video. But the purpose of a town hall is to give a representative the opportunity to talk directly with the people that they represent. And a lot of the time, the representative will outline what they've been up to, things that they've accomplished, and then after that there'll be a time for questions or for people to give feedback. And it's really meant to be this back and forth kind of thing. It's purposely designed so that the representative can hear directly from their people what they think about what's going on or any concerns that they might have. It is not meant to just be a time for a representative to give a speech or to monologue. Like, that's not the purpose of it. It really is so that they can hear directly from their people and hear their feedback. And I think that that's a really important fact to bear in mind as we watch some footage from these town halls. So the first one that we're going to be looking at is from a town hall that happened in Idaho, and we're actually going to be checking out a news report from a local news station there. And I'll just let you know, like, during this town hall, somebody is basically dragged out of the town hall room. It actually is a little bit violent, so just bear that in mind as we watch this.
Well, a woman in North Idaho was dragged from a town hall meeting when she spoke out against the policies being discussed. Organizers say she was disrupting the meeting. Abby has been tracking the fallout today. Abby, what did you learn?
Hunter, it was at a Kootenai County Republican Central Committee Legislative Town Hall. Teresa Bourne-Paul came as a resident to listen to lawmakers, and she ended up in the emergency room.
You're assaulted.
Teresa Bourne-Paul was attending a Kootenai County Republican Central Committee Legislative Town Hall Saturday, discussing topics like Medicaid and school vouchers, when she was forcibly removed from the meeting.
So a lot of footage like this is coming from town halls where Republicans are hosting it, or a Republican representative is speaking. And the reason for that is because Republicans have majority in Congress, and we have a president who's a Republican, and people are really, really not happy with what's going on and what the Republican agenda has been. I'm sure we'll get more into this as we watch, but just so you guys know why it seems like this is happening at Republican town halls is because people do have issues with Republicans right now.
All of our elected officials in Kootenai County and surrounding areas are all Republican, and so that is why the Republican Party did the town hall. The auditorium was full.
Bourne-Paul, who has previously run for a seat in the Idaho House as a Democrat, tried to ask a question during a discussion about reproductive rights. Her friends, Megan Kuntz and Tamara Saenz-Cremelis, tell KTVB legislators would not take the question.
They even used the words "shut up"
Yeah.
at one point. And so, yes, she said, is this a lecture or a town hall?
There's an opportunity for you to shut up.
Bourne-Paul was first approached by Sheriff.
And that's another commonality that I'm seeing with a lot of this footage, is that the people that are being escorted out or dragged out in this woman's case, or just deemed to be disruptive, are people that are mostly asking their representatives questions and aren't getting answers back, whether that be they're just not getting an answer at all, or they'll ask a question and then the representative will just, talk around it or not really answer it or go off on a tangent. And then when the person tries to get clarification or pushes them further on it, that's when they're told that they're being disruptive and are forced to leave. And I think that's the reality of what's happening in the US right now, is that a lot of it doesn't have very good justification. A lot of what Musk is doing or the different executive orders that Trump has handed down, a lot of them don't have any obvious way that they're going to help actual people. And people are showing up to these town halls and trying to get an actual answer of like, how is any of this going to help us? And they're just being given the runabout. And I think it's fair for people, when they're not getting an answer to their question, I think it's fair for people to get a little bit aggressive. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. But I think at this point, with some of the things that are going on, we have to be a little bit aggressive. We have to be very vocal, and we can't just like play nice because a lot of these things are causing actual harm to marginalized communities, whether that's LGBT folks or Black communities or people on Medicaid or Medicare. A lot of this is affecting those people. We can't just like play nice with Republicans. Like, we need to kind of go balls to the wall with things. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Sheriff Bob Norris.
My name is Robert Norris. I'm the sheriff of this county. We're asking you to leave on video. Please get up or be escorted out.
Sheriff Norris asked her to leave, then grabbed her.
Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. Let's go. You're going to be escorted out.
I just happen to have a nice for all.
Okay, I'm asking you to go. You want pepper spray?
Then Norris called in 3 unmarked security officers.
Nobody knew who these people were that were assaulting her and pulling her away.
Who are these guys? Who are these guys? Show your badge! Who are you? Don't touch her.
They pulled her out of her seat.
And
That really rubs me the wrong way. The fact that these guys that were like dragging her out aren't police officers, or at least they aren't in uniform. They're maybe not on duty at the time. It's just apparently hired private security. And I don't really know how that works for town halls. And I'm sure that they haven't needed maybe in the past to have like a security presence at town halls. But why are they not uniformed? Why are they not actual police officers? There's something about that I find a little strange, because they're the ones that I think that are making the decision to escort people out. And we don't know who these people are, or if they're just deciding to kick people out because they don't like that they align a certain way politically. Like, I don't know. That's very concerning to me.
she wasn't doing anything threatening. She was sitting in her seat, not doing anything threatening.
And into the hallway while Sheriff Norris filmed. Kuntz and Signs Carmelis say the MC of the event spurred it on.
He called her a little girl multiple times. Also said, your voice is useless or doesn't want to be heard here.
Look at this. This little girl is afraid to leave. She spoke up.
Kuntz and Signs Carmelis, as well as...
Really? How incredibly condescending is that? Like, I can't... These are people that you represent, and you're demeaning, you're condescending to them, you're calling them little girl, you're making them a spectacle, and you're supposed to be working for them. And that's something that I've seen, a commonality that I've seen with a lot of these town halls, is that the Republican representative is often very condescending. I don't like that. And the way that they like forcibly dragged her, like, I mean, to me, like, they could have dislocated her arm or her shoulder or something. I know if somebody dragged me like that, something would dislocate. I'm naturally prone to dislocating things, but I feel like that level of violence and aggression was like really not called for. I get that she was being asked to leave and she wasn't, but what really was she doing other than when her congressperson was saying something, she was disagreeing. She was sitting there. She wasn't being violent towards anybody. She was just speaking her mind.
As Coeur d'Alene police say Borenfall was cited. The battery charge stems from allegations that she bit one of the security officers.
In my opinion, that sounds like self-defense.
Kootenai County Republican Central Committee posted on Facebook saying Borenfall was arrested and that she disrupted the town hall and vocally cheered for any DEI initiatives.
It was evident.
That is there evidence that she was being disruptive because she was cheering for DEI initiatives? Like, you're allowed to express your opinion. You're allowed to show your support by cheering. Like, what? I need to listen to that again. Okay, it says, relentlessly disrupted the event by verbally attacking the legislators. Okay, they apparently shouted down legislators with insults like bigots and liars throughout the meeting, drowning out attempts at dialogue. The thing is, a lot of these Republicans are bigoted, and a lot of them are lying. Like, so how exactly are we to call out lies or call out bigots when we see them if we're not allowed to be vocal? Like, I don't understand how that's supposed to work. The group vocally cheered any mention of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, erupting in applause and chants. What's so wrong about that? How is that being disruptive by just applauding something that they support? While loudly booing every reference to the Bible or President Donald Trump. I mean, aren't these Republicans all about free speech? They're just exercising their free speech. If they don't like the Bible, aren't they allowed to voice that? If they don't like Donald Trump, aren't they allowed to voice that? I mean, to me, it seems like she was being too oppositional. She wasn't willing to just sit there and agree with everything that they were saying and not push back at all. She was going to let them know that she disagreed. And like, that's the purpose of a town hall. Like, there needs to be a place for politicians to hear feedback from the people that they represent. And sometimes that feedback might not be what they want to hear, but it's really important that they still hear it. To me, it just seems like she wasn't just sitting there and like nodding in agreement to everything that they said. And that was the real problem.
And vocally cheered for any DEI initiatives.
It was evident that dissent was
not being tolerated.
Yeah. They put it better than I did. It's clear that the Republicans did not want to tolerate dissent. They didn't want to hear dissenting opinions. That's really what it comes down to. All right, so we're going to be moving on to the next one. And this footage is actually from Christy Burke. She's an atheist content creator. I actually really like her videos. We're not going to be watching her entire video because it is pretty long. So I've just cut out some things that I want to respond to particularly. But I highly recommend you guys go and watch the entire video. Please show her some support in the comments as well, because I think it really is important for you guys to get the whole context of what happened during this town hall. But just for the sake of brevity and making this video not like hours long, I'm not going to play the whole thing. Oh, and this town hall took place in Tennessee. So she opens with, on February 28th, 2025, Deanna Harshbarger held a town hall event where she dodged questions and lied to her constituents. After repeated attempts to fact-check her lies and ask her for transparency and truth, I was removed from the event.
Congressional Budget Office, you know what it's going to be by 2035? It's going to be $59 trillion. Did I tell you? Did I tell? Listen, you've got people who pay more taxes. The top 1% of this country pays taxes, more taxes than there's going to be $24.5 billion.
Did you guys catch that? She said the top 1% pays more taxes, and then it kind of trails off, but I'm assuming what she was saying is that the top 1% pays more in taxes than the rest of the 99%, which is just wild and just like factually not true. Actually, back in 2024, Tesla, which obviously is Elon Musk's company, they paid zero in taxes, and Tesla is valued at $1 trillion. Let me just read to you guys from this article. Elon Musk's company avoided almost all federal income tax on nearly $11 billion of U.S. income over 3 years. Tesla, the most valuable automaker in the world, valued at over $1 trillion, did not pay any federal income tax last year. Tesla's annual financial report released this morning shows the company enjoyed $2.3 billion of U.S. income in 2024, on which it reports precisely zero current federal income tax. Over the past 3 years, the Elon Musk-led company reports $10.8 billion of U.S. income, on which its current federal tax was just $48 million. That comes to a 3-year federal tax rate of just 0.4%. 0.4%, more than 50 times less than the statutory corporate tax rate of 21%. Tesla saved $500 million in taxes last year using accelerated depreciation. Tax breaks for executive stock options shaved $250 million off the company's tax bill. Unspecified U.S. tax credits were good for $300 million of tax savings. Musk's company also used net operating losses to offset current year income, although it's hard to know how much of that affects U.S. income rather than the company's far larger foreign income. Congress might give Tesla even more tax breaks. A bill passed by the House of Representatives in the previous Congress would have retroactively reinstated a provision allowing full expensing of research and development expenses, which could save the company up to $2.4 billion in taxes. And Republicans are planning on cutting taxes for the super wealthy even further. So I don't really understand how all of it works. I am definitely not an expert on taxes, but as I understand it, a lot of the wealthiest people in the U.S. pay virtually no taxes because they use specific strategies where they take out loans against their assets, things like stock and real estate, rather than realizing the actual value of their assets. And this way, they actually pay a lot less in the interest to bank loans than they would paying actual taxes. So like, in the end, it works out for them. And this is not an option that's available for the majority of Americans. As it is right now, a lot of Americans can't even afford to buy any real estate. They can't afford to buy a home. So these are strategies that only the wealthy in our country can really use. But yeah, it's not true that the wealthy pay more in taxes. Like, where is she even getting that from?
I'm here to tell you exactly how we're going to do this, and I want you to be respectful when I tell you. Is that good enough? Listen, a lot of people don't have the guts to come out here in front of you. Am I right? Okay. A lot of people have canceled every coffee, they call them, whatever they call them, town halls. They've canceled them because people are protesting. People are saying, I don't want to answer those tough questions. I'm here to answer those tough questions and give you the reason and the logic behind those decisions. Do you understand me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's do it.
See, we can be friends, and I've seen you before, and I've talked to you.
She says, I've never met Diana. Oh man, there's so much to address here. My first thought is when she says be respectful, I can't help but feel like she's saying, please don't disagree with me. Please just go along with what I'm saying. Don't have dissenting opinions. I think I'm pretty sure that's what she means by be respectful. And I really can't believe that she's basically admitting that her Republican colleagues don't want to come out and answer questions. I mean, shouldn't that tell you that they don't have answers to people's questions? And that should be a huge red flag. If you cannot provide justification for what your party is doing, then you need to say something about that. You have the responsibility to look into that and figure out whether or not there is justification for what's going on, which, by the way, there isn't. I mean, the justification is that it's making the wealthy wealthier. That's pretty much the only justification there is for anything that's happening. And I mean, I do think it's great that she's willing to go out and talk to people. That is something I do respect, since a lot of Republicans aren't wanting to do that right now. But at the same time, you can't just go out there and be like, oh, you have to be respectful. You can't question me. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to go out there, then be willing to hear people's actual opinions on stuff. And it definitely is true that a lot of Republicans are canceling their town halls because they're afraid. to actually answer people's questions.
We've got to find 1.5 to 2 trillion in cuts. And that, yes, sir, that's what the resolution, the budget resolution, that's what we've agreed on. And we did have Democrats to vote for that as well. There's just, well, listen to me, that's over 10 years, and you got to take your math, you got to divide it out. That's just 150 to 200 billion in cuts per year. Those savings would be just 2.3% of the government's 86 trillion in planned spending over the next decade. It's not a big ask. It's easy to get confused with million and billion and trillion. Sometimes I find myself forgetting what the number is. It's a decimal. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's a rounding error when you talk about so many million. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's bad.
How much did you take out of Elon Musk's fund?
Elon Musk doesn't get paid.
$8 million a day. $8 million a day.
That is crazy. Is she really up there saying that Elon Musk doesn't make anything from the government? Like, how? You're just flat out lying. Like, she's flat out lying. Yeah, Christy put on screen, using the New York Times figures, Musk's companies would have made roughly $8 million per day from government contracts in fiscal year 2023. These figures are backed by USAspending.gov data, which shows that SpaceX and Tesla alone received $3.1 billion in federal grants that year. Yeah, to suggest that Elon Musk doesn't get paid by the government is wild.
When you listen to propaganda news and you don't go to the source, that's let me ask you something. How many of you belong to a Democratic agency that have paid you to come?
None of your business.
None of my business. Well, there's your sign, okay?
That is actually a thing that a lot of Republicans are saying right now, is that all these people that are showing up to these town halls and causing a scene, they're all just paid actors, which is wild. I won't make the claim that there aren't any paid actors that are going to these town halls. I guess that's a possibility. But there are a lot of people that are genuinely showing up because they're concerned with what's going on in the US and they want to voice their opinion. Christy, I know it was not paid to show up. She's genuinely concerned about what's going on, as am I. I'm not being paid to make this YouTube video by the Democratic Party. The only way I get paid is through YouTube monetization and Patreon. I only get paid directly from the people that are watching me. Recently, Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, claimed during a CNN interview that Democrats showing up to town halls are all paid actors, and his evidence for this seems to be because Democrats are showing up early to town halls. Therefore, they're all paid actors because they're showing up early. Like, that's your evidence? What? Maybe they just want to make sure that they get there on time and have an opportunity to ask their questions. In that interview, Mike Johnson also continued to say that most Americans back Trump, which is just an outright lie. Trump's approval rating is only 45%, which is 15 points lower than the historical average for presidents since 1953. And I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk's is like 31% or something really low. Like, people are not happy with what Trump's doing. It is definitely not the case that the majority of people are backing Trump or are in support of what Trump is doing. Obviously, there was a majority that voted for him, but I think a lot of Republicans are kind of getting disillusioned and are realizing that a lot of Trump's promises are very empty and he hasn't really helped them. Oh yeah, and I think Trump actually tweeted recently saying that they're all paid actors too. Let me see if I can find it. Or not tweeted. Maybe he put it on like Truth Social or whatever. Oh yeah, this is what he said on Truth Social. Paid troublemakers are attending Republican town hall meetings. It is all part of the game for the Democrats, but just like our big landslide election, it's not going to work for them. I don't think that it was really a landslide election. I think it was pretty close from what I remember. Yeah, 2024 presidential election was close, not a landslide. Just 0.15% of all voters determined Trump's 2024 victory. Trump literally lies about like everything. I don't think that guy has ever said anything true in his entire life.
You, no matter what audience, whether it's hostile, whether it's friendly, I'm here to answer those questions, and you have to listen to me.
You have to listen to us too.
Facts so you can formulate a question that you can ask me.
We got questions.
All right, what time is it, Patty? What time is it? All right, let's do this. We're going to open it for questions, but you cannot shout over one another or I won't pick you. I will not pick you. So, you got a microphone? I want some questions like, ask me what we're doing with the budget. Okay.
Christy said, I raised my hand the entire time specifically to ask a budget/Medicaid related question. Oh, so like she's saying, oh, ask me questions about this. Like only ask me questions that I have answers for. Like give me softball questions. I don't want any hard or difficult questions where I'll struggle answering. Like give me a softball one. That's crazy. Also her like, oh, you have to listen to me. And Christy says, well, you have to listen to us. Like, yes, I love that so much because that, again, that's the purpose of a town hall. It's not just so Diana can get up there and just monologue and everybody in the crowd just goes, yeah, like that's not the purpose of it. It's so she can hear what her people are saying too. And people are under no obligation to just take what she's saying at face value and just take it for the truth. If it doesn't seem like it's the truth, then we should be pushing back against that. And a lot of what Diana has said, and excuse me for using her first name, I don't really remember what her last name was, but a lot of what she said has not been true at all. Like Elon Musk not getting paid by the government. Like that's just so obviously not true.
Wondered how you felt about President Trump pardoning the January 6th rioters.
That's right.
Committed crimes, especially those against our police officers, the men in blue. And the second question is, how do you feel about President Trump saying that Ukraine was the aggressor in Russia? And
I placed this right after he did the pardons. If there's someone that had a prior criminal record, then your state and local law enforcement should be able to track them with a blanket pardon. And I don't know who all he did pardon.
Do you support it? Do you support it?
Yeah, like they're asking about all of the January 6th rioters, not just the ones that had a previous criminal record. How does she feel about all of them? She's completely giving a non-answer.
But he also pardoned the Christians that prayed outside of a
Do you support the January 6th pardoning is what she asked. Just answer the question.
I was there.
I know, answer the question.
I wasn't outside. I didn't see what happened.
Exactly. Like Christy saying, you're not answering the question, answer the question, saying that over and over again. That is what we need to be doing right now. That's not being disruptive. That's trying to get an answer from the people that represent you.
We're going to delve deeper into that to find out, and we're finding out that some of those people and those FBI agents were outside. And I'm not going to.
It's a yes or no question. Yes or no.
Why did the January 6th committee destroy hundreds of pages of documents?
It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question.
That was the Democrats who destroyed hundreds of pages of documents.
Answer her question.
They were told not to destroy them.
Can you answer the question?
I told you that I agree with the pardons of some of those people who walked in and walked out. Anyway, well, listen to me. The January 6th pardons, the president, that was one of the promises he made on the campaign trail, and he did. And I told, at the first interview I did after the fact, if there are people with prior criminal records for whatever reason, your local law enforcement are going to know that. And I've talked to the sheriff about that.
Yeah, that was totally not an answer. What is their past criminal charges have to do with anything. They're in trouble, or they were in trouble with the law for what they did on January 6th. Whether or not they had a past criminal charge, like, that's neither here nor there. I also like how she brought up, she said, oh, well, he also pardoned the Christians that were charged for praying outside of an abortion clinic. Like, she said that as though that is something that she thought would get people on her side or something. I made a whole video about this. This whole situation with the peaceful protesters was an example that was cited in Trump's executive order, the anti-Christian bias order. I guess I should probably give you guys a little bit of backstory. So Trump claims that there were these Christians that were praying outside of an abortion clinic, and because they were praying and because they were Christian, they were prosecuted, which this is completely a lie, because they weren't just praying. They weren't peacefully praying outside of a clinic. They actually forcibly entered a clinic and barricaded themselves using like furniture and ropes and like anything that they could find, and actively prevented patients from entering the clinic, which is against the law. You cannot prevent people from entering a healthcare facility. That is completely against the law. And they also actually caused an injury to one of the nurses that was working there. Apparently she was pushed during the chaos of all of it, and she ended up spraining her ankle. And then they were also like accosting a woman that was in active labor. Like, they were not being peaceful. They were violent. They were very violent. And that is why they were prosecuted. And I just think it's really funny that she brings that up as though that's supposed to be something that gets everybody in the room on her side. Okay, I think this next clip is pretty long, so I'll just let it play in its entirety.
Representative Harshbarger, thank you for being here. I know it's not easy, but we have real concerns, and we are your constituents too, if we don't agree with you. I like it on record that I have not been paid to be here or to speak. I'm a retired public school educator with 33 years of experience in service. I taught middle school, high school, and college level U.S. government. I am speaking today in regard to the Affordable Care Act. My husband and I currently have health insurance through the marketplace created by the Affordable Care Act. I'm a survivor of breast cancer from 2021, so I have a pre-existing condition. I've looked into acquiring private health insurance and have been told I will not be eligible for another 4 years. If not for the ACA, I would be uninsured. Yeah. I have a niece on the ACA who has diabetes. She has a pre-existing condition and will be unable to acquire private health insurance as well. I'm fully aware that Project 2025, which is the blueprint this current federal administration is following.
Yep.
haven't read Project 2025.
You should have.
Excuse me.
Just telling you the truth.
And all due respect, everything that is happening was part of Project 2025. Excuse me, please let me answer my question. Okay.
Sorry, I said I was gonna let it play in its entirety, but I can't believe she's just like, well, I haven't read 2025. Okay, so just because you haven't read 2025 doesn't mean that that's not what's happening. And yeah, what Project 2025 laid out is exactly what's happening right now. One of the first things in Project 2025 was getting rid of DEI and completely erasing trans people from existence, and that's exactly what they're doing. And Russ Vought, who was one of Project 2025's architects, was actually appointed by Trump as the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And Russ Vought, if you guys are not familiar with him, he's a self-described Christian nationalist. So he actually takes on that label himself. And he's in the past suggested the U.S. should favor Christian immigrants over those of other faiths. So the guy wants to establish a theocracy, clearly. He's one of the architects of 2025, and now he's in a very important position within our government. Like, the idea, because Trump claimed that he didn't really know anything about Project 2025 and he had nothing to do with it, but yet he had so many close ties to people that put together Project 2025.
Okay, I'm shaking. This is very important to my life.
We're behind you.
Okay? In all due respect here, Project 2025 is happening before our eyes.
Yes, it is.
Okay?
Yes, it
so
is.
If you have read it or not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then maybe you should. because that is what is happening.
So
Yes.
tell me what they're doing.
Here's my question. Could
Okay.
please
You
listen
should
to
know.
me? Okay, I came here to sit in line for this.
Okay.
I need to know where you stand on this issue. According to 2025, Project 2025, there will either be the elimination of the ACA or extreme restructuring. I will be unable to get insurance. This is a personal issue for me.
Yeah.
I need to know, and I hope people are recording this because I'm going to keep you to your word what you say
Yes.
on this. Because we are in a situation where, our representatives in our Senate so close between Democrats and Republicans, it will only take a few of you to be brave enough to stand up.
Woo! Yeah. That's right. That's right.
This is what I understand, and I have not read 2025, and the president disavowed 2025.
Okay, yeah, he disavowed it because he knew if he aligned himself with Project 2025 before he got into office, that people would be less likely to support him and vote for him because Project 2025 is literal Handmaid's Tale shit. Like, it's crazy. Him disavowing it means literally nothing when he has so many connections to people who wrote 2025.
We're never going to get rid of all the Obamacare. We just won't, because that's a safety net program. That's why when we talk about Medicaid, you're not going to, you're just going to get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse.
It's going to come up.
have,
It's going to be voted on. Where do you
wait,
stand?
listen to me. I'm trying to explain.
I need to know.
You're not going to go without insurance. There's going to be a safety net program. I'm sure.
I mean, I feel like her saying, you're not going to lose your insurance, don't worry, it's all going to be fine, that really means nothing considering what is outlined in Project 2025 is literally what's happening. And this really brave woman who is a survivor of cancer, who really relies on this insurance, is voicing her concerns because according to Project 2025, a lot of this is going to be either eliminated or restructured, and that could very well affect her and affect her ability to have insurance. And Diana's answer of like, don't worry about it, you're not going to lose your insurance, like basically implying that she's overreacting. That reminds me a lot of a recent conversation that I had with a family member. I'm sure you guys are aware that RFK has been put in charge of the Make America Healthy Again initiative, and part of that executive order is going to be looking at the threat that things like SSRIs, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, ADHD medications, the threat that those pose on Americans, specifically on children, but it's not limited to children. It has to do with everybody. And I ended up posting on social media that I was really concerned about this because from the words and rhetoric that RFK is using, it's sounding like he might want to restrict or potentially even ban these medications. And I'll talk more about the rhetoric that he has used in a second. But I posted on social media saying that I was really concerned about this. And I had a family member who I'm very like alienated from, so I'm not super close to them anymore, but they commented and were basically saying, like, to summarize, they basically said like, oh, you don't really need to worry about it, and like RFK just wants to have good science and he just wants studies to be done on these SSRIs. Like, you know what? Why don't I actually just read it? That would probably be easier. Yeah, I posted, people, including myself, are scared now that their meds are going to be taken away. Like, I guess I should mention that. I'm on 2 medications, actually. I'm on an SSRI and an SNRI. So yeah, I'm afraid that there's going to be restrictions on that, or it's going to be more difficult for me to access those medications. And how it is right now for me, I really, really rely on those. I'm actually on a pretty small dosage of both, but they've been life-changing for me. I really do need access to them. So yeah, for me, that it is very scary to know that that could be a problem in the future. And this person said, I don't think that they'll be banned, reclassified, or distributed differently, but not banned. And I said, well, I hope they aren't banned, but even reclassified or distributed differently could negatively affect access to them to the people who need it. And then they ended up saying, my hope is this will change for the better, and it could be a better process and faster. That is needed when someone so desperately needs mental health care. And I responded, I highly doubt it'll be a better change considering RFK said SSRIs are harder to quit than hard drugs. That is something that RFK has said on record, that SSRIs are harder to quit than cocaine, which is just completely not true. And I also said that he's, for a very, very long time, I think up until more recently, he's been an anti-vaxxer. So my whole point was, even if they're reclassified or they're distributed differently, that could affect me. That could negatively affect me. And I feel like this person kind of just hand waved away my concern. And I feel like this is what Diana is doing here too. She's kind of just hand waving away this woman's concern and is just like, oh, just don't worry about it. Like, you'll still have insurance. And I think it's a really valid concern for her to have, considering what Project 2025 says. And I think it is a really valid concern that I have, that I'm concerned about SSRIs, considering the rhetoric or the things that RFK has said. Just in the executive order itself, and you guys can look this up, it says ADHD, autism, anxiety, and depression are a threat to the American people and the American way of life. And this is literally how Nazi Germany characterized disabled people, which eventually led to their forced sterilization and, very sadly, in a lot of cases, their death. So wording it as though people with anxiety, people with ADHD, people that are autistic are a threat to America, to the American way of life, that is genocidal rhetoric. So even the executive order itself is very problematic. Plus, RFK has, he said that SSRIs are harder to get off of than cocaine, which is like wild. He's also made the claim that a lot of school shooters were on antidepressants and that we need to look into whether or not antidepressants make people violent, which again is something that is completely not supported by the data. The data has shown that the majority of school shooters aren't on antidepressants. He's also said that he wants to send people with mental health issues, specifically ADHD, to wellness camps, which sounds like concentration camps, right? So just like the idea that, oh, they just want to study it is completely outlandish, considering everything that they've said about SSRIs up until now. Like, clearly RFK doesn't like SSRIs. So I don't think that it's a overreaction for me to be concerned that I'm not going to have access to them. I think that that's very valid. In the same way, I think it's really valid that this lady's concerned about her insurance. And again, it's just like, I know I've said it probably a million times by now, but it's just like the hand waving away and just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just wild. Christy says here, at this point, I was increasingly frustrated with her lies and non-answers. I understand why. I believe we should always fact check our representatives when they're not telling the truth. Yes, exactly. We should be doing that. And that is not being disruptive or rude. She made a blatantly false, unscientific claim that people are born only one of two genders. This ignores the nearly 2% of the population that is born intersex. I tried to stay calm, but I was tired of the lies, so I attempted to ask her a clarifying question. And when she refused to answer my question, I was removed by police. I was the only person removed, but I was not the only person holding her accountable and using my voice.
Right. These young women will never win another championship or get another scholarship because biologically you're born a man or a woman.
No. Intersex people exist. Intersex people exist. Do intersex people exist?
There's no disputing the facts that people are only born a man or a woman. No, that is not That's not facts. Like, that's just objectively not true. Like Christy is saying here, intersex people exist, and their idea that sex is a binary, that you're either a man or a woman, is just not true. Sex, like gender, is actually a spectrum too. Intersex people exist.
Exist. Do intersex people exist? Do intersex people exist? Do intersex people exist? My daughter's a doctor. Do intersex people exist?
Listen,
yes or no?
Are you changing from one sex to another?
Or intersex is not changing.
Oh my God, she obviously doesn't even know what intersex means. Yet she so confidently says, oh, you're either a man or a woman, and yet she doesn't even know the science or even know what intersex means. Why is it that the people that have the least amount of knowledge are the ones that are the most confident about stuff? Like, ugh, so frustrating.
I'm going to address the issue.
You brought it
Okay. No, I'm answering this question.
I'm going to respectfully ask you to walk this way, please.
10 times stronger.
You're gonna kick me out for asking her to answer a question.
Yes, let's walk this way.
You're gonna kick me out for asking her to answer a question that she won't answer?
Well, let's walk this way.
Everybody else is yelling. Why do I have to leave?
And now
You have been causing a scene since you got here.
Everybody's been causing a scene.
Well, step out, let's walk.
Because she was paralyzed because of the hit that he gave her. That is I'm not going to back up on my decision to support Title IX.
Are you serious? Everybody is yelling.
Grab your stuff and let's go.
I hope that the president will take
For asking the congresswoman if intersex people exist. I want to know if intersex people exist.
her at 12:30.
She asked at the
I want to know if intersex people exist, and she won't answer the question.
and ask people out here.
I appreciate you all showing up.
He said you can ask people out here. But like that, why would she do that? She's there to ask her congresswoman questions, not to ask random people outside. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Whether you like my answer or whether
Is this?
Congresswoman, we have one more.
Okay,
Get up.
we got one more question.
Are you kidding me? No. Are you kidding me?
She didn't do anything.
I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I asked a question. I asked a question.
Here's your jacket, ma'am.
I want my water bottle in there.
I'll bring it.
Thank you.
What was your question?
Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong. She was literally just asking questions, and Diana didn't want to answer. I think, because like Christy said, there were a lot of people that were yelling and making a scene. It wasn't just her. I think that maybe they picked on her because she was filming, which, you know, maybe they wanted to get her out because of that. But obviously that they didn't have the forethought to realize that that would mean that her video would go viral, which it has gone viral. And I'm so glad that she is getting so many views on this. And I'm glad that she went to her town hall and she's voicing her opinion. She's fact checking. She's asking her questions. I think that that's amazing. And I think that we all need to be doing this. Like, at this point, I think I said this earlier in the video, but we're beyond being nice. We're beyond being respectful. Like, this is a time where we need to be aggressive and vocal. So I think Christy did the right thing in this situation. The last thing that I'll say with all of this is I was actually watching another woman's video. She didn't have footage from her town hall, but she, in her video, explained what happened and what her representative said. Her representative actually happened to be a Democrat. And she was saying that right now, there are Republicans that aren't happy with Trump and disagree with what he's doing, but they're apparently too scared to say anything because they're worried about their physical safety. Because apparently if you're a Republican and you oppose Trump in any sort of public way, then Trump will take to social media and he'll post on Truth Social about it. And then all of his crazy followers end up sending these people death threats, basically. And while I think it's definitely understandable that they feel very concerned for their safety, it is also their job, and this is what they were elected to do, is to be the voice of their people. And if they think that what Trump is doing right now is wrong, they have an obligation to say something. Them not saying anything and their inaction will lead to harm, especially to marginalized communities. So I think right now, and I think that this is something that Legion Miller said recently in a video, is that they need to be more afraid of the people than they are of Trump. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we keep on being vocal and we keep expressing our disappointment with what they're doing. That's the only way that they're going to be more afraid of us than they are of Trump. And I appreciate you guys watching this video. I'm sorry if it was super rambly. I actually prefer if it's just me that I do things scripted, because I tend to lose my train of thought or just like not articulate myself super well when things are unscripted and it's just me. But I did want to get this video out as soon as possible for you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_antibot. And if you'd like to consider supporting this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye.